Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And for now, we've got another special comment, this time focusing on the Kim exposed Taylor hashtag and pop culture authenticity. I started to feel physically ill when I started drafting this message. Same sort of sinking feeling that happens whenever I have to even mention the Kardashians in anything I create. Acknowledge how many people find their utterly brainless, TMZ baiting trash so damn captivating. Even though anyone with a functioning brain stem could tell you that none of it is remotely close to real, or has produced anything beyond cheap gossip and ruining the lives of people who should rightly know better at this point. Oh, don't get me wrong, I get the attraction to it. People like vapid drama, especially when it seemingly comes at the expense of the rich and famous, but even without seeing a single episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians and contributing to the downward slide of humanity towards idiocracy, at this point, it should be blatantly obvious to pretty much everyone that the Kardashians are more shrewd than that and are making millions off of the public not knowing any better, or caring all that much, which is arguably even worse. So enter into the conversation one Kanye West, an artist who has spent his career making alternatively brilliant and idiotic material both in his art and in public. And say what you will about Kanye, there doesn't seem to be anything all that calculated about his persona. He'll say and do things without filter or abandon, such as, I don't know, rush the stage at the VMAs in 2009 to snatch a pointless awards out of the hand of a stunned young pop country artist to defend the artistic merit of Beyonce's Single Ladies. Seriously. It's also one of those moments in pop culture that's so rare, not only because it was genuine, but because it simultaneously shifted the artistic trajectories of two different artists in two different genres who would rise to become the biggest acts in modern pop. Kanye West would become a pariah before coming back with a sort of critical acclaim that really has become less and less deserved for the sparse gems between the steaming mountains of bullshit. Whereas Taylor Swift would pivot towards deeper authenticity for a time, before selling out and creating a much more sleek pop artifice that would come to dominate the charts. And I should note that Kanye West and Taylor Swift, at the thematic roots, they got their critical acclaim for really the same reasons. Supposedly being real in an era where nobody else was. Taylor Swift about her relationships, and Kanye West about, well, every half-genius, mostly mad thing that's spewed out of his mouth. Hell, you might even argue that Kanye might have considered them kindred spirits in art, that they could be friends. Maybe one of the reasons that spurred the already infamous lines on his song Famous, "I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex, I made that bitch famous." Now there's a lot to unpack there, so let's endeavor to actually focus on the art and start with the context of Famous itself. The song's concept is meant to address Kanye's relationship with fame itself, personified by Rihanna, and how his own creativity now feels stymied thanks to the echo chamber of celebrity. Now thematically, this is material that Kanye West has explored before. You could very much argue that his album Yeezus in 2013 thematically was Kanye owning all the grotesque assumptions people made about him in graphic detail. Famous is more exultant, more celebratory, and a moment where Kanye just owns the freedom and being able to get away with anything. So why not bring up the moment which catapulted him into pop culture ubiquity and mention one of the two famous women who have always kind of fascinated Kanye West? And one of those women is not Kim Kardashian. Because let's get brutally honest here. For as much as Kanye seems to claim he loves his wife and the mother of his children, he sure as hell doesn't seem to treat her with a lot of respect. From guest appearances like that part on Schoolboy Q's last album, to the remix of Drunken Love from Beyonce and Jay-Z, to his own album The Life of Pablo, for as much as Kanye claims that he fights for his family and stands up for them, he sure as hell doesn't have much of a problem airing he and Kim's dirty laundry in public and creating a mountain of evidence for her divorce attorneys when they inevitably show up in court. But Kim has remained with Kanye, and this is where things kind of get murky indeed, because I have no queer way of discerning Kim Kardashian's motivations. This is a woman who hit her first peak of fame off of a sex tape, of which Kanye bizarrely also won't shut up about, and then married and divorced someone else within months of each other in a televised wedding, which earned her even more money. Is this relationship that she has with Kanye West real, or simply another calculation to stay in the main spotlight all the longer as Kylie and Kendall Jenner seem to be eclipsing her? Frankly, I have no idea. She seems to have no problem with Kanye's antics and him mentioning her in songs, even bailing him out of his tremendous debt after he ranted about it on Twitter in the notoriously messy Life of Pablo release. But it seems that if Kanye can generate the headlines, she's gonna find a way to cash in on him. And that takes us back to Famous, where despite Taylor's initial denials, Kanye apparently did call her ahead of time to get permission for those lyrics that drove all this controversy, which according to the Snapchat recording captured by Kim, Taylor did grant. So why did did Kim wait until now to finally leak this information? Tease the rollout both in mentions in a GQ article and in line with a new episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, finally hitting a boiling point when it comes with the accusations of misogyny that's leveled at her husband? Or a carefully timed publicity launch to push her own name to the spotlight yet again and strike a blow at a woman who she might well consider a rival for dominance of pop culture, a pop star who might be just be in a position of weakness, and a pop star to which her husband seems bizarrely attracted to? Because let's get real here, this story really isn't about Kanye, or even Kim so much as it's about Taylor Swift, one of the reigning pop stars of our time, and yet in the past weeks has received a significant amount of negative public attention. I'm not going to get into the he said, she said nonsense of the Calvin Harris situation, except for 2 points. Number one, I completely believe the rumor that Taylor Swift ghost wrote "This Is What You Came For," and secondly, Calvin Harris exposed that there's a certain amount of calculation when it comes to Taylor Swift's feuds and personal relationships. And while those were definitely hints of that creeping into her writing as early as probably Red back in 2012, that level of cold calculation is all over her image and her business practices, especially these days. The collecting of celebrities identifying as feminists in her social circle, the trademark enforcement of fragments of her lyrics, the feud with Spotify and her fight against YouTube to remediate the DMCA, to wring even more money out despite the fact that she's one of the most highly paid musicians in the world right now. And all that is enough to easily buy into the belief that if Kanye asked permission for the famous clearance, she might have given it only to rescind it later to push her message and further keep the publicity engine going with the majority of her singles now out of the limelight. She's between albums. And hell, it would even be plausible given the other element of her public persona, her inability to take any criticism well, with the existence of Shake It Off being all the evidence that I need there. And as you can see her public statement shifting with more evidence coming in, there seems to be a few possibilities of what's really going on here. Number one, Kanye West calls, Taylor Swift gives her approval to be a part of what she hears, and then loses her temper when Kanye doesn't play her everything and leaves the song with the additional line, "I made that bitch famous," the one that she seems to have taken the most issue, specifically with him calling her a bitch. This is Taylor Swift's story as of now, and by Occam's razor, it seems the most likely. But given how tight-fisted Taylor is with her image and persona, I'd be shocked that she didn't hear the entire song, if only just to get additional context. She's honestly a lot smarter than that. So let's move on to number two. Kanye West calls, Taylor Swift gives approval to everything, and then when the song is released, she backtracks in order to save face or to feed into the publicity machine around her image. She says she never got the approval, which pisses off Kim, so just when Taylor is perceived to be at her weakness, off tour, no major songs on the radio, public opinion turning against her after the Calvin Harris situation, Kim Kardashian leaks the call. Taylor Swift frantically revises her statement to include that Kanye actually had asked for approval, and it all looks suspicious as hell, and at the very least very damaging toward Taylor Swift's reputation. But this raises an additional concern that I haven't seen addressed a lot in this conversation, which made things seem a little bit fishier. Namely that what Kim Kardashian did, particularly if it was without Taylor Swift's consent, is expressly illegal. Under the California Penal Code Section 632, it's expressly illegal to record or eavesdrop on any confidential communication, which includes telephone calls. And since Kim released Snapchat evidence of her doing just that to the public, and that Taylor Swift has an army of lawyers ready to take down everything in their path, it would seem monumentally stupid for Kim to do this, especially as she's been involved in reality television and carefully coordinated leaks for over a decade now. She'd probably be aware of the laws surrounding recordings like this. And you know what, come to think of it, Taylor Swift would probably be aware of them too. So why hasn't she threatened legal action, simply branding it on Instagram as character assassination? Well, that takes us to number three. Everybody has been in on this long-form publicity stunt from the start, with both Kim and Taylor privately hoping that the other gets caught more in the blast radius. And while at first this seems kind of absurd, the more you start to untangle it, the more things start to kind of make sense. Feuds in this vein are a prime way to keep your name in the limelight. Hell, look at the feud with Katy Perry, or the boy band wars, or any time a music marketer has tried to position two bands or acts in competition to spur the fandoms into action. And Taylor Swift, she's a natural candidate in evolving herself, given her and Kanye's natural history, only further enhancing that appearance of authenticity. And it seems to work to everyone's advantage. Everyone gets media cycles, Kanye gets the controversy he needs to obscure a notoriously messy release and lackluster singles that might even give Famous a boost along the way, Kim gets some petty revenge on Taylor and a chance to reassert her commitment to a marriage that looks less and less stable if you really pay attention, and Taylor Swift gets the sort of media attention between album cycles that Well, see, here's the wrinkle in the scheme. Taylor Swift's greatest strength in her art is her authenticity, or at least the illusion of that. Even despite the list of songwriters and producers behind her that most of the mainstream doesn't even know or care about, there's always been the understanding that at the root of her modern American dream girl persona, there's something real, that she holds to real convictions. Now, any music critic would have been questioning that as early as Red like I did. I've been predicting Taylor Swift backlash is only a matter of time since episodes of Billboard Breakdown nearly a year ago, and you could definitely make the argument that with the infighting and the Calvin Harris accusations, Taylor Swift's illusion of authenticity is at its weakest right now. In this conversation with Kanye West, it's a peek behind the curtain, and it takes a hammer to that illusion in a celebrity controversy that's been propped up to print free money for years. An excuse to people to start talking, articles to get written, clicks to be pulled in by a curious public, and videos like this one to be made. Which, if you saw Kanye's video for Famous, that was the entire point. A snapshot. And a bed full of naked celebrity figures that you would never expect there, including Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian, and all of it made from the grainy camera of a voyeur, the audience. It's a moment of insight from Kanye that I'm almost entirely convinced is accidental or brought in by the video director, but he's always kind of been doing this, walking the thin line of an idiot savant. He's always been the wild card, but if the rollout to his last album has proven anything, it showed that while you might not be able to control what Kanye West says or does, you can still nudge him enough in the right direction to make a lot of money in the end. And yet, all those figures, they're not the real people. They're not the real bodies. They're hollow. They're plastic. All artifice. Only given life when the audience chooses to believe in it, and all serving to rake in that publicity. And just like the reality television where Kim Kardashian made her fame, just like the celebrity feuds that might start with the germ of something real, but have long ago been replaced by those seeking to monetize every inch of it. Just like Taylor Swift, who might have been running a consistent 4-year con on a fan base who thought they could relate to her and had been betrayed step by step. That is, providing at this point she or they even bother to care. Because by watching that Snapchat feed, by retweeting that hashtag, by sharing those Instagram posts, by writing the think pieces, by watching this video, you're a part of it too. After all, we're just setting up the cameras. You're the one who is watching. The sun is in my eyes. Woke up and felt